ושבת קודשך באהבה ורצון התפללנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת לחיים.
To those people who are on stream right now, I am very sorry because we didn't have the sound before, but it's on now. So welcome to those who are on stream. We're glad to have you, and hopefully that will be the last snafu for quite a while. So our service continues with Sadiq Katamar, beautiful. We are on page, I gotta find it. I got lost because of all those changes here. So Sadiq Katamar, page 140.
Sadiq Katamar Yifra Keres Balvanon Yisker Shetulim Beveit Adonai Bechatzot Eloheinu Yafrihu Od Yenuvun Beseva Deshenim Verananim Yiu Lehadli Ki Yashar Adonai Zuri Belo Avlatabu.
Back 2 pages to 138. That's Lecha Dodi. Our custom, as you probably know, or if you don't, let me tell you. We usually do verse 1, verse 2, verse 5, and verse 9. And when we get to verse 9, I invite everyone to stand and face the entrance. And just to tell you, because sometimes this confuses people. So you face the entrance for the verse, but when we get back to the chorus, you're more than welcome to turn back around, face forward. So Lecha Dodi, verse 1, 2, 5, and 9.
Lecha Dodi, Krat Kala Shabbat Nekabelah Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Nekabelah Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad Kishmiyanu el hamichad Adonai echad u'shemo L'shem u'tiferet v'lit tehila Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Nekabelah Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Nekabelah Likrat Shabbat Lechu V'nelcha Ki Mikol HaBeracha Mirosh Mikedem Nesruha Sof Ma'aseh B'machshavat Tehila Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Nekabelah Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה. לקדוני לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה.
So as you rise and face the entrance,
בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לקדוני לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה. לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה.
please remain standing. We're on page 146 as we continue with our call to worship the Baruch Hu. And we're not all doing that.
Cool.
We're doing the Matiras, right?
Yes.
Okay. Make sure. Okay. So I don't think this comes as a surprise to anyone, but for the last 11 months, our people have been broken. I don't think this comes as a surprise to anyone when I say that over the last 11 months, we have just felt the ache of a country that is not even a shell of itself right now. And it's been a real difficulty and it's a real struggle, and every day there's something new which challenges us and which makes us weep and cry. Sometimes we have moments of joy when surprisingly good things happen. Unfortunately, I think we know that those are few and far between. A few weeks ago, of course, we know there was the 6 hostages who were executed just prior to some of them being released, even, or hopefully released. It's been a tough 11 months, there's no question. And in Israel, there is the debate, the conversation about what should be our priority. Should it be somehow defeating Hamas in its entirety and completely, or should it be focusing on getting hostages home? And one thing is clear, and that is, according to our tradition, there are very few things more important than the redemption or the freeing and redeeming of captives. We have a prayer during the morning service. It's called Nisim B'chol Yom, the blessing for everyday miracles. And one of those blessings, and you can find it, by the way, on page 198 in the prayer book, and that's what page we're on right now. And one of those lines from Nisim B'chol Yom is Matir Asurim Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Matir Asurim. We praise you, Adonai, our God, for you free the captive. You redeem those who are in captivity. And when I was in Israel this summer at Hostage Square, I was fortunate to meet a cantor named Shimon Smith. I know what you're about to say. The name Shimon, which is a manifestly Hebrew name, and yet the last name Smith, which could not be farther from being Jewish. Right? So it is a little weird saying Shimon Smith, but I do it anyway. Shimon Smith, and he's a cantor who wrote an absolutely gorgeous setting for just the one line, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. And so we want to try to do this more often in services, especially while we still have 101 hostages still in captivity. And we can't take our eye off that thinking, oh, time passes and so it just kind of fades, because that's the playbook for Hamas, is to let more and more time pass since October 7th and have the memory fade, but it won't fade for me and it won't fade for you, because I'm going to keep reminding you. Matir Asurim, you can find it. It's the third paragraph, when I say paragraph, third little prayer on page 198.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim matir asurim baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim matir asurim baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim matir asurim.
152, if you wouldn't mind, once again, please rise, Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. So we are on page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Mi Chamocha 158.
Bye bye bim bim bam, yabba bye bye bim bam, yabba bye bye bim bim bam, yabba bye bye bim bam, ay 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 ay, yabba bye bye bim bam, ay 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 ay, yabba bye bye bim bam. Mihi kamocha vaylim Adonai, mihi kamocha nedar bakodesh, Torah tehi. Miriam, Zeilianu ve'amru, Adonai lo le'olam va'ed. Yabai vai bim bim bam, yabai vai bim bam, yabai vai bim bim bam, yabai vai bim bam, yai rai 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 rai, yabai vai bim bam, yai rai 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 rai, yabai rai bim bam. ונאמר כי בן אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני קהל ישראל.
All right, so our service continues with the tefillah. It's on page 164. And once again, please rise.
Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Yadadai, dai, dai, 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 yadadai, dai, dai.
166.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotinu Bimotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Leah Elohei Rachel Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Ve'hanorah El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומדום אליו, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
Page 170.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. So we are on page, let's see here. We're on page 377. We're doing another prayer for, this time for the state of Israel. And we're going to chant the prayer first, and then after we chant the prayer, then we're going to read it in English, and we can do it together. And then following that, we'll have our prayer for peace, Shalom Rav. But first, the chant of, or the music of Avinu Shebashamayim, which is 377.
Avinu Shebashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'goalo, Marech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit tzmichat geulatenu, Hagen aleha bevrat kastecha, Uferos aleha sukat shelomecha, Ushelach orecha v'amitecha lerasheha, Sareha v'yotzeha, Nitakenem be'etza tova milefanecha, Menatata shalom ba'aretz, V'simchat olam leyoshveha, V'nomar Amen.
Please join me at the bottom. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. All right, so if we continue back, this time on page, you can find it in your program on the right-hand side, but also the words for Shalom Rav also in the prayer book. If you want to follow along, you can find it on page 100 and here it is. Found it, 178. But the English part is on the inside of the program.
Make of us a house for all people, gather us in hope for all people, surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך, בשלומך. Make of us a house for all people, gather us in hope for all people, surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Make of us a house for all people, gather us in hope for all people, surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Baruch atah Adonai hamevarech et amo Yisrael v'shalom.
All right, well, you have an opportunity to put your Siddur, your prayer book, down for a short while because we can use this, one of my favorite times during our service when we share a little bit about what's going on in our lives. And we start with joy, and then a little bit later we'll talk about the struggles too. But first, joy. And so if you have experienced joy recently and you wish to share it, we would love to hear about it. So you just raise your hand, and I will call on you, and you can tell us a little bit about your joy. And from time to time, we'll sing a little bit of Ken Yehi, which simply means, may it be. Sandy.
Yesterday,
Yeah?
sisterhood,
Yeah.
planned by this lovely lady up here, Colleen Sandberg, took us to the lovely Marietta House in Prince George's County, not far from here. And we had a lovely tour, a small group of us, but I'd encourage anybody else to go too.
Very nice. Very nice.
And it was kind of meaningful for all of us because they interpreted the house by way of the slaves and enslaved people that had been there. And there was a lovely stained glass window showing Frida, which Sari took a picture of, which she'll probably put somewhere on the temple website.
We have not given her the password for the website. That would be dangerous.
Maybe she'll just put it in.
That's right.
Anyway, it was a display of freedom. And it was in yellow, too. It kind of felt like it was. And also, I have a new grandchild.
Really?
Yes.
That's really great about Julia. No. What's that?
We're not going to be superstitious because I was raised that way. He's not named after you, don't worry.
That can be your story. Tell you my story is named after me. Mazel tov on both things, especially the second one, to be perfectly honest. More joy. Colleen.
I had the pleasure of entertaining my oldest girlfriend, not chronological, well, yes, she is my age. We were babies in France in South Africa. Our mothers fled Germany and Vienna, and she came to stay with me. She lives in Melbourne, Australia, and she came for 3 days this week, which was wonderful.
I'm assuming she was doing other stuff here. She didn't just make the trip from Melbourne here for 3 days. It was a quick turnaround.
She's with her son in Connecticut.
I see.
She told Ivan too many stories about me.
Oh my God. Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Yeah.
I have the joy of having one of my longest standing family members, my cousin Art, who is a neighbor, who has come to join us for this evening.
So glad that you're here. Yes, Arthur.
A internet friend of mine actually finally just completed their conversion last week, so they're enjoying their Shabbat.
Wow. By chance, are they watching so we can do a shout out?
Highly unlikely.
All right.
I'll probably share a little bit later. His name is Justin.
Justin, Mazel Tov. So about, let's see, look at what time is it? 40. So probably about 45 minutes into the video.
If I recall correctly, he lives on the East Coast, so his might not even start yet.
That's right. Call him up, watch, rewind. Anyway, Mazel Tov to you, Justin. Stacy.
My eldest son, Andrew, has returned from working as a newspaper reporter in Idaho for almost 3 years.
Oh my God.
He's going to be writing for the Philadelphia Jewish Exponent, but in Columbia, Maryland, so he's back in the area, which is wonderful.
Wow.
And he's very embarrassed now. And we also got to meet our brand new niece last weekend in New York.
Your brand new niece.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Wait, so just to tell me, what's the connection? So when you say brand new niece, who's your...
My brother and his new wife have a new baby.
I see. How old's your brother?
53.
Okay, cool. Mazel tov. That's gonna be, that should be fun, 53. We'll see what happens there. More joy. I'm sure yes.
I started thinking about planning my son's bar mitzvah.
Wow.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Does he have a date already?
Yeah, he does. January 24th, 2026.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when you say planning it, you mean like the party and stuff?
I mean, yes, but all of it.
Gotcha. That's amazing. Congratulations. You're getting old too.
Yeah, it's right. She's not.
But what you don't have is an infant newborn. Mazel tov. It starts now. I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's how you feel when you're going through bar and bat mitzvah. Constantly schlepping over here for appointments, and it's, yeah. Mazel tov. More joy? Come on. All right, fine. Kind of say, yeah, go ahead.
I live in Virginia. I'm just in Naples today. Good stuff. I just got my business license in Alexandria. I'm an architect. I'm not plugging myself. I'm not licensed in Maryland, so it's not why I'm here.
Congratulations. What you doing out here?
I was just in Annapolis for the day.
Visiting?
Got me, yeah.
Or just taking a little bit of time, you got your license, figured you'd celebrate it a little bit, check out the waters.
Day off work and went to the beach for a little bit.
The one here at Sandy Point or all the way?
That's Sandy, yes.
Yeah, fine. Because I'm of the belief, and I know that there's various schools of thought here, but I know Sandy Point is a beach because it has sand. But I don't think of it as going to the beach, going to Sandy Point. Like going to the beach is going to Rehoboth or Bethany or Ocean City. You have to have an ocean there for it to be a beach. Pretty much anything else does not count as a beach for me. But I understand that that could be argued, and I realize that I may not have full leg to stand on. But anyway, welcome. And Mazel Tov, for sure. More joy. Anybody else want to share? You had a chance?
First day of religious school.
First day of?
Religious school.
This past weekend. This past week, rather. And Wednesday school, too. And a really nice success. Such a smooth transition. Didn't feel like Tracy came by, she wept a tear, she missed us, and that was about it. Pretty smooth. So the joy. Yeah, she was pretty happy. Kind of like my narrative of Ari being named after me, I'd like to also have the narrative of anyone who leaves us is just weepy about it. But you're right, she wasn't shedding a tear. Anybody else want to share joy before? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I had joy about a week ago playing golf. It was a fun day, it's always fun, but the most meaningful and impressive part.
Yes, I know. Good.
Watching him sink about an 85-foot putt.
For birdie, by the way.
Not only did he sink it, he didn't even look
That's right.
at the topography of the
Because it was so far, I couldn't see the hole from where I
very matter of fact. And I didn't say it came off. He was more surprised. He maybe putted it, went left or went right. Miniature golf type.
I know.
And it went in, and the sheer joy, euphoric.
I know.
Was something.
I took a video to say. I'm not such a good golfer, so when that happens, it's like a big deal. Can you? I'm fine. Can you? That's me saying, may it be for more times for me. Thank you, Joe, for mentioning that. And yes, it was great. And I then get to share in the joy of spending the day with Joe out there. If you've never spent any time with Joe, then you know not only is he an excellent human being, but a highly amusing human being too. And it's a fun way to spend the day. There's no question. Anybody else want to share joy? Thanks for sharing that. I'll share some joy. So last week, literally 1 week ago, here at services, a woman was here who I had met briefly a month earlier. And she approached me and asked if she asked me if my grandparents were Meyer and Helen, which they are. I said, yes. Are they from Princeton? I said, yes, they are. Jefferson Road? Yes, they are, indeed. Turns out that the woman who I saw again after having met briefly a month earlier, she was the daughter of my grandfather and grandmother's best friends. She grew up with my father. I mean, they lived in Brooklyn and Princeton, so they only saw each other a couple times a year. But they vacationed from time to time together, and she knew everything about my family history, including, by the way, showing me a video of my grandparents at age 35 or so, or 35, 40, and my father at age 3. It was really so extraordinary of a coincidence, and I don't even know what words to use. It was just amazing, and I have been, quite frankly, on cloud 9 ever since. I coincidentally visited my parents on Sunday and Monday. I got back here before the hurricane. I let them ride out the hurricane on their own. They're watching, by the way, and they just got power back about an hour ago, and they just got their cable on, thank God, their TV, the internet and cable, about 5 minutes before the services started, because they texted me to say, they got it back. But it was what an amazing opportunity to have to speak with someone who had that type of memory of my family that I had no memory of, because I certainly was not alive. Only so few people, on one hand, you can count the number of people who could say that they remember my grandfather. And so it's really quite touching. And it's been staying with me. It hasn't left me. It's been one of the most meaningful experiences that I've had in quite a while. And so, yeah, that's my joy, for sure. And that's a good one for me. So, she lives in Heritage Harbor. She just moved to Heritage Harbor. Yes, Ann Wolfson.
No.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Thank you. So now we both know Ann Wolfson, and she knows. It's amazing. Baruch atah Adonai gomel chasadim tovim. We praise you, Adonai, our God, for partnering with us in the many joys that are in our lives. Amen. Do you know the Ann Wolfson now too?
I talked with her, and
Yeah.
she's entertaining 45 people, making dinner for them tonight. So
Right.
she'll be here next week.
45 people entertaining. Yeah, me too. That's how I do it too. Let's switch gears for a minute. We'll go to that which is a little bit more, I don't want to say sad, but one that kind of tugs at us a little bit more. And that is the fact that many of us, we just sang the song Shalom Rav. And Shalom, we think of as hello and goodbye and peace. But really, Shalom comes from the word Shalem, which means whole or complete. And when I think about loved ones who are struggling, I really think about how they're just missing a sense of wholeness. And so we have a blessing that we say called Misha Berach. And our tradition here is I'll start by reciting part of the blessing. And then at the part in which one might typically insert a person's name to personalize the blessing, I'll pause and give everyone a chance to share a name. And then together we'll conclude the blessing and then sing. So let me share with you the beginning of the blessing. It starts this way. Misha Berach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, v'Imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel. And those words mean, may the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Leah, and Rachel. Hu yivarech v'yiraped kol hacholim shelanu. May God bless and heal all of our loved ones who are in need of healing, especially the ones whom we name at this time. And so if you'd like to share a name of someone in need of healing, you can raise your hand, or I'll kind of look around, and when my eye meets yours, feel free to just say the name if you want. Stacy. Thanks.
Shirley Bettman.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah.
Alexander Schwartz.
Thanks.
Wayne Whitehall.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
Pam Roby.
Thanks.
Rita Kelly.
Yeah.
Rona Rosenfeld.
Yeah.
Lubiani.
Thanks. Just like to add a few more names. Thanks. Allison Herman, Anna Greenberg, Cindy Fox, Ilana Schwartz, and Brent Hare. Vishlach lehem bimheira refuah shalema. May God send them speedily a complete recovery. Refuah tanefesh v'refuah taguf. A healing of body and a healing of spirit. B'toch sha'ar cholei Yisrael, amongst all who are in need of healing. V'nomar amen. And let us say amen. We're on page 371, if you'd like to follow along with the singing of Misha Berach.
Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage
to make our lives a blessing,
and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habracha avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We pause now for a moment of silence.
Ose shalom bimroma, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imnu. Shalom Bibroma, Uyas Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Ve'imnu. Amen. Yai-da-da-da-da-da. Shalom Bibroma, Uyase Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Ve'imnu.
All right, so 1964. Not many of you were alive back then. I love the audible gasps that I just had. 1964. I was not alive, but it's famous. Maybe as I tell this first part, you might remember this. It was in Queens, New York in 1964. I think it was in March, 60 years ago, a little bit more than 60 years ago. And there was a woman named Catherine. She went by Kitty Genovese. Know the name? Yeah. So for those of you who don't know the name, I'm going to tell you, and for those of you who decided to bring children with you, I will try to keep this description mildly PG-13. So she was she was a slender kind of, she was into like punk rock, and it was a Thursday night, although 3 a.m., so it was actually Friday morning at this point, but she had been out at a bar in Queens, and she came home, and she noticed as she was going home a hunched man. And so when she noticed the hunched man, and she lived not too far away, she looked and found the nearest police call box. This is 1964. She found a police call. She wasn't able to reach, she was looking, she wasn't able, though, to reach the police call box because the hunched man came after her and stabbed her multiple times. In the back, in the stomach. And she screamed out at 3 a.m. She screamed out, please, someone, please help me. Screaming it. And at some point, lights came on in the various apartments that were around. And because it was loud, she was loud. And she had woken up many people. The lights came on, and one person even yelled from their window, "Leave that girl alone." And so this man who was hunched, his name was Winston Moseley, who parenthetically just died about 6 years ago. He had been in prison. Winston Moseley ran away when this person from the window screamed out to leave her alone. And he ran, and then people closed their windows, turned their lights off, went back to sleep. And so Moseley came back and stabbed her more times. And she screamed and screamed, but her screams became weaker and weaker. Again, the lights went on. No one told him to leave. No one said, "Leave that girl alone" this time. But they screamed and stared, and he fled again. And again, the lights went off. And then a third time. Her body was already virtually lifeless. He raped her and made sure to kill her. It's a horrible story. And it caused quite a stir, quite a tumult in New York in 1964. I don't remember it, but I know about it. And all these people could hear and could see what was happening, but did nothing. Except for the one person who screamed down. No one came down to help her. And again, it caused such an enormous tumult, uproar in New York back in 1964. And he was put on trial 3 or 4 months later, and he was convicted. But they said that they claimed that he was insane, and instead of being executed, he was sentenced to life in prison. Turns out, by the way, just as parenthetically, he escaped. He was in the Attica riots, by the way. He escaped and then did some serious illegal damage to others after escaping, but then was caught one more time and then was kept in prison and never got out. So a few years later, I think 4 years later, in 1968, there was an experiment that was done by 2 psychologists. And the experiment had to do with people in various different rooms, and and having to do, and I don't know all the details of the experiment, but ultimately what they determined from this experiment will be pretty clear, was that if a person thought, if they had screams coming from a different room, but if a person thought that he or she was amongst many people hearing those screams, they didn't do anything. But if a person thought they were the only person, that they usually did something. And this concept, this principle, was known, the two psychologists, one was named Darley and Latane, Bibb Latane, John Darley. And they coined this the diffusion of responsibility, in which more people, less feeling of responsibility. Fewer people, more sense of responsibility. Makes sense. I mean, when you think about it, you know, if you hear a scream right now outside in the lobby, but we all just kind of, it's okay, it's okay. Maybe you'll just go, even if you think you should go out to the lobby to check, you might say, all right, everyone else says it's okay, so I'll just sit back. Even if you know you need to go out. And this was their point, was that we're either influenced by others, or, you know, because others think it's not a problem, and so therefore maybe we should also change since we're in the minority, maybe we're wrong. Or it was as simple as, oh, I don't need to do anything because there's so many people, someone else can do it. There are various different reasons for why the more people, the less responsibility that's taken, but this is what they determined and discovered. Now, the interesting thing about it is this, is that, our Torah portion for the Shabbat speaks all about this concept, amazingly. So it starts out only kind of halfway about this idea, but then it really hits it. Right? So it starts out by talking about all this Torah portion called Ki Tetzei, and it talks about all of the different things that you have to do, the responsibility that we have to our fellow human being. The famous one, if your ox or your sheep strays off, you know, the Torah says you have to go get that ox or that sheep and you need to bring it back to the person who lost it. You have to see that just because it's not your problem, it still is your problem. And yeah, that kind of contributes to this point, but here's where it gets really interesting to me. The Torah portion then goes on to talk about the Moabites and the Ammonites. And it says about these two peoples that they have no place in the community of Israel. And why? They say because the Moabites and the Ammonites did not bring out water or food to the Israelites as we were leaving Egypt. In other words, the Torah is saying that no one really thought that it was their responsibility. No one thought that they needed to be the one to step forward and do the right thing. Instead, they all waited for the other person to do it. And as a result, the Torah claims that God says that these people have no place in the community of Israel. Diffusion of responsibility. While I know that, you know, human nature is human nature, still at the same time, I am similarly aware that we Jews have a different way of doing things. We fight sometimes our impulse and human nature to do what is demanded and expected of us. And I tell you this because this month we are about I can tell you exactly because I have the date on here. We are 11 days into the month of Elul. Elul is the Hebrew month which precedes Tishrei. Tishrei, the first of Tishrei is Rosh Hashanah. Elul is, according to our tradition, as holy of a month as these holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Why? Because these are the days of preparation in anticipation of the high holidays. We have hard work to do over the high holidays if you choose to do it. And that hard work is to take responsibility for your actions. And I suppose the most important and valuable example of taking responsibility for your actions is not thinking that others are going to do something which you yourself should do. It's not thinking that it's okay, maybe this whole thing about Elul and the high holidays and taking stock of our lives and doing what's called a cheshbon hanefesh, a personal kind of accounting, that maybe we say, that's for someone else. Kind of like the diffusion of responsibility. It's not really what I need to do. It's all a joke, or it's all a game, or it's all just for show because we're going to come for the holidays and then we'll, listen to the music, pray the words, and that's fine. But that's a person who says, I'm not taking my tradition and my heritage and our customs seriously. That's a person who says, it's not my responsibility, it's for someone else to do. That's human nature. But that's not Jewish nature. And I encourage you that in just the same way that you might have felt appalled, disturbed by all of those people in Queens, New York, who stood around and maybe did enough by flicking on light switches, and in one case, screaming out her window. But I think that we all know that each and every one of them, including the person who screamed, came up way short. But that doesn't mean we have to come up way short. We can be the ones that take responsibility for making ourselves better people, for molding ourselves into the people that we want, and in doing so, we will truly be embracing the spirit of this month of Elul. And so I hope that in these next 20 days, fewer, 18 days, in anticipation of Rosh Hashanah, that we do the work, because it makes the experience more meaningful when you know you prepared. So thank you and Shabbat Shalom. And I invite you to reopen your prayer books to page 586, because 586 is Aleinu. And when you get there, I invite you to please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני מלך על כל הארץ, יום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. This is a moment of sacred memory. Loved ones from our community and congregation have been called to their eternal rest, and we remember them. In some cases, loved ones who have passed away quite recently, and in other cases, this is the yahrzeit. And so first I'd like to mention two names who have passed away recently. We remember Juliette Bree Levinson, a granddaughter of Lorraine and Richard Butsky and niece of Eva Wine. And we remember Arnold Sumner, the father of Carrie Hilburn. We also remember at this time these loved ones whose yahrzeits occur on this Shabbat. We remember Beatrice Carroll, Lillian Miller Singer, Mildred Falk, Barbara Ginsburg, Morris Salzberg, Irving Chiat, Philip Walkoff, Jonathan Weeder, David Leib Krasilovsky, Thelma Estelle Katz, Ruth Ratner, Betty Shapiro, Beverly Katz, Mark Weissman, Leon West, and Abel Savage. And so in gratitude for their lives and linking their names with the rest of our loved ones who have passed away, we remember them all with the words of our mourner's prayer, which is called the Kaddish. It's on page 598, and if it's your custom, I invite you to rise. 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechal beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevorach le'olam ulamei almaya. Yibarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yitalal shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiram bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort to every bereaved heart. Amen. Amen. Please be seated. Thank you. Okay, so we are close to concluding our service, and first of all, thank you all so much for being here, and Shabbat Shalom to you, and thank you to everyone who watched on the stream, and I am so sorry about the first couple minutes without sound, but yeah, it's some good stuff from the first couple minutes, and that's all that matters. Thank you so much to Tom de Kornfeld, who served as an usher this evening. Thank you also to Carol and David Stern, along with Tom and Barbara Weeder, for sponsoring the Oneg Shabbat this evening, which will be out in the lobby in just a few minutes. A handful of announcements worthy of mentioning. High holidays are coming around the corner. E-tickets, again, keep a lookout in your email for something called Simple Ticks, because that is the email, that is the e-ticket for the high holidays. We are doing once again our Rosh Hashanah Oneg, which is always a lot of fun and always quite delicious, and we can use bakers. So if you want to try your luck at being a baker, just make a little something and add it to our Oneg Rosh Hashanah, please do. You just gotta see the sign up in the weekly email to do so. Tomorrow, if you have young members of your family, when I say young members, I'm talking about 5, 6-year-olds, 4 or 5, and you want to come for Tat Shabbat, we're doing Tat Shabbat tomorrow, Saturday morning at 9:30 in the morning. Half an hour service, always a lot of fun, nice way to do stuff with your young kids, or grandkids in the case here, might be. Also, we have a new adult education program that we just put on the calendar somewhat recently, and that is Natalie Spinski, who's the sister of a member of our congregation, made Aliyah. She grew up as a conservative Jew in Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware, made Aliyah, and now lives in the West Bank in Israel, and she is in town and was going to share her stories about how it is that a person like her could go from DE of Delaware to the DE of the desert in Israel. And I'm sure her story will be quite interesting, not to mention telling us a little bit about what things were like for her on October 7th as well. So that is Friday the 20th at 10 a.m. So Friday morning, 10 a.m. I understand what you're thinking. I got school. You can't, well, not everyone here is in school. And so 10 a.m. if you can make it Friday morning. Slichot, which ushers in the high holiday season, September 28th. 6:30, a movie here, School Ties, 9 o'clock service. October 7th, in observance of that dark, dark day, we'll be doing a gathering of music and poetry and meditation. And so hopefully you'll be here with us. Again, take a look at our weekly email for all relevant information. Now, we are going to conclude with Motzi and then our final song, which is Achat Sha'alti, which is an Elul song. So Achat Sha'alti is on page 662, but first, Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz, Shabbat Shalom.
I can tell by looking at this is not your run-of-the-mill Safeway challah. So I'm going to take a little, it's very special, I'm going to take a little taste and we're going to bring this out to the Oneg Shabbat. So Achat Sha'alti, page 662 is how we conclude.
Achat Sha'alti me'et Adonai otah avakesh. Achat Sha'alti me'et Adonai otah avakesh. Shivti bebeit Adonai kol yemei chayai. לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו. לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני אותה אבקש. אחת שאלתי מאת אדוני אותה אבקש. שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי. לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו. לחזות בנועם בנועם אדוני ולבקר בהיכלו.
Thanks so much for being here. Shabbat Shalom, and join us for the Oneg Shabbat in the lobby. Noam Adonai.